Assalamualaikum. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Leaders in Climate Change session. My name is Asi Budiati. I'm the team leader of Global Covenant of Mayors, or GCOM Asia. I'll be the moderator for this session today. As the first housekeeping rule, I would like to inform you that this will be a silent conference, so please wear your headset. For English channel is number 1, French channel is number 2, and Arabic channel is number 3. So before we start, first of all, I would like to thank the European Union to provide this platform for our dialogue today. Also to Ms. Miriam Makisi from Climamet and Shi O'Neill from Com-Sahara and South Africa for their support in the preparation of this session. And also for all the participants attending in here and also online. In this session, we will discuss the importance of women's role in leading climate actions and also to highlight their achievement and positive contributions to tackle climate issues. In February this year, UN Women has just released a summary paper explaining how gender inequality and climate change are interconnected. The report stated that across the world, women in general are more dependent to natural resources, while in contrary, in many regions, women bear a disproportionate limited access to those resources, such as food, water, and energy. So climate change in this context can be a threat multiplier. It escalates the political, social, and economic consequences to the women. As Global City Network, Global Covenant of Mayors, or GCOM, we always promote equal opportunity and access between male and female. Therefore, present with us today in this Women Leaders session, women leaders from different GCOM regions as the panel speakers to discuss this topic. So I would like to welcome, first of all, Ms. Basma Matoug, Mayor of Nablus from Tunisia. Welcome, Mayor. She's a member of the network of elected Tunisian municipal women and committed to the political action of women. Ms. Fatimatu Abdel Malik, President of Nouakchott region from Mauritania. She's elected as the first woman mayor in Mauritania and has actively improved school education, particularly for girls. Ms. Farah Baboun, former mayor of Bethlehem, Palestine, the first and only female mayor in Bethlehem since 1815, correct me if I'm wrong, mayors, a gender researcher and advocate, has an active role in political empowerment of women in the Middle East. And Dr. Laila Iskandar, former Minister of State for Urban Renewal and Informal Settlements from Egypt. Dr. Laila, very active with grassroots communities in informal urban settlement and deprived village in Upper Egypt. And to open this session today, we are grateful to have Ms. Sylvie Fontaine, charge the program environment from European Union delegation to Egypt. Ms. Sylvie has been working with the Commission for more than 10 years on internal relations related with climate, environment, and sustainability. Sylvie, you can start. Yes.
Thanks a lot, Mrs. Buyati, for your introduction, and good afternoon, everybody.
There's... Yes.
Sorry, I am not very good in all techniques issues. So thanks, Mrs. Buyati, for your introduction, and good afternoon, everybody. And good afternoon, everybody. I don't start well. It's a pleasure to me to be present with you to this panel discussion. I will be very happy to hear the feedback on the involvement of women within the fight against climate change, and I am interested to hear about your experience as leader at the Global Governance of Mayors. I will just give some few words of introduction on the EU perspective on the role of women in climate change discussions. Climate change is a reality. Nobody can ignore it, and I think all people who are here around are already motivated and want to act for it. But unfortunately, even if we are all aware of the climate change, the role of the woman in climate change discussion is still very poor. Following an article from Balgis Osman Elasha, women are increasingly being seen as more vulnerable than men to the impact of climate change, mainly because they represent the majority of the world's poor and are proportionally more dependent on natural resources such as agriculture. So not only women are victims of climate change, but on top of that, most of the time they are not involved in the decision making. However, women have historically developed knowledge and skill related to water harvesting, food preservation, natural resource prevention, tree planting. And this knowledge is important for now and for the future generation. We have to take them into account. Neglecting this knowledge of the woman in the field of climate change is a real loss for the humanity. So we should all fight for the recognition of this knowledge. We should acknowledge their experience, give them a space to express themselves, and allow them to play an active role in decision-making at all the levels. The lack of involvement of women in the fight to climate change is a worldwide problem that each nation should tackle. At the European Union level, our President, Mrs. von der Leyen, decided to implement the EU Green Deal to fight climate change. The EU Green Deal aims to change the way our economy model is working. This new economy model should reconcile the economy with the environment, should reconcile the way we produce and the way we consume, and reconcile the economy with the citizen, with all the citizens, men and female. To make sure that the gender aspects are not forgotten, she committed as well to achieve a union of equality based on a gender equality strategy from 2020 to 2025 to reach the gender equal Europe. The goal is to reach a European Union where women and men, girls and boys, and all in all their diversity are free to pursue their chosen path in life, have equal opportunities, and can equally participate in our European society. With this strategy, the European Union aims to close the gender gap in the labour market and to promote the role of women in decision-making process. Voices of women are important, as they may have a different approach to the problem and propose complementary solutions. By taking into account the difference of sensitivity, we can reach more balanced solutions. Gender equality is as well in the core of our cooperation and should be mainstreamed in all our projects. Our project should promote the right to equal education, equal work, and equal access to decision-making. Acceptation of the difference and inclusion of this difference in the discussion linked to climate change are important as diversity of opinion help to find the right solution. The COP27 is the moment for everybody to have their voice heard. But I stop here to hear the voice of the other panelists. We are the people who know the field, who can give you some concrete experience, and as well, hopefully that you will interact and give us as well your opinion on it and your experience on it. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Sylvie, for the great opening remarks. Give an applause for So you emphasize the importance of providing decision-making role to women. That's very important. And also thank you for providing a concrete policy example of gender equality strategy from 2020 to 2025 from the European Union to ensure a gender equal ecosystem in Europe. So that is probably something that can be replicated or also used in other regions. So before we continue with the panel discussion, I would like to ask the audience first. Please raise your hand for those who is currently work or previously have been working with women as your supervisor or your leader. Way, this is very good. We should give applause to ourselves. I think more than half of the audience have been working with female leaders. So we shall come back to you later to share your experience working with women leaders. So now let's start with, I will start first with Ms. Basma Matog. So, to set up the context, in your opinion, why women are more vulnerable to climate challenge than men?
Merci. Bonjour à toutes et à tous. Donc,
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. It's an honor and a pleasure for me to be part of this panel. So I wanted to thank the whole ClimaMed team that offered me this opportunity to be here. So I'm a woman leader. I'm from Tunisia. I'm the mayor of Nabil municipality. And I will also talk about the strong implication of Tunisian women in local authorities. So we get involved in projects that are linked to energy transition and renewable energies. We have 67 women mayors in Tunisia. We have 350 in total mayors. And so we have a really strong advantage in our municipal councils as well. We have almost 47% of women in municipal councils. We are very involved in all projects. And in my city, we have implemented strategies on energy transition, and we have already ratified the agreement on climate for the Mediterranean region. We are also involved on a project in favor of the climate for the southern Mediterranean countries. We also have the support of the European Union in the framework of the project Life for Climate. So the idea is to make our cities greener. And I will come back now to your question. Why are women more vulnerable to climate change than men? If the environment degradation and natural disasters concern the whole planet and all its inhabitants, it does not affect all people in the same way or in the same intensity. It's mostly women and girls, mostly those who live in vulnerable and marginalized conditions, who are disproportionately affected.
plus vulnérable.
Women and girls are more vulnerable to climate change because they are in charge of their children, of their houses. They live in deeper poverty situations. Their livelihoods also depend more on natural resources that are threatened by climate change. They also faced social, economic, and political obstacles that limit their response capacities. And if we add to that the inequality in terms of access to resources and decision making processes, it's not surprising that some studies say that women face around 15% more risk of dying during natural disasters. They work in all sectors that are affected by climate change, such as the agriculture sector, tourism, retail, education, and their main financial strength depend on the promotion of these sectors. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So we heard about the challenge, and we noted that women bear a disproportionate burden from climate change. Policies then need to become even more gender responsive and bring women led solutions and apply finance policies to empower women. So, what is your opinion on this point? Linking with the examples from your city, the challenge, and then the environmental challenge that is faced with the women in your city.
Oui, donc en fait,
Yes, right. So
comme vous le savez,
the city of Nabil, as you might know it, is a coastal city full of craftsmanship and etc. It is very close to the capital of of our country. So it's a very active cities, but because of its situation, geographical situation, we are vulnerable to floods. In 2018, the city was flooded, which led to considerable losses and damages, and across the whole of the Nabil city, and the city is also exposed to risks because of problems linked to waste management. We also have air pollution levels that are very high and that are an environmental challenge for the city because of the industrial activity and the road traffic. And also because of pottery ovens that are numerous in our city because our city is specialized in ceramic products and pottery products.
Exploring back to the earlier questions regarding the policies need to be more gender responsive, and we need to bring women-led solution. So what is your opinion on this one?
Donc, la stratégie
Right. Our carbon neutrality strategy and climate resilience strategy by 2050 has devoted an entire chapter on gender issues. In 2021, we have updated our strategy and we have set ourselves optimist goals and appropriate measures for women. And we have added the notion of the global covenant of mayors, cross-cutting measures. The access to political and financial resources for women is still insufficient. Women and girls are not yet autonomous in our country, but they are more and more active in the social life of our country, and they are an important actor of investments in municipalities, and they need to be better informed regarding climate change and the solutions at our disposal to fight against the natural disasters. In Tunisia, women participate in the elaboration of these climate-related strategies, but we still need to work on a more local level and plan for the necessary investments and technical assistance, allowing us to implement local projects and to fight against climate change in order to go toward sustainable and inclusive development. As mayors, we encourage women and girls to take part in local projects. For example, there is a gender equality and gender issue commission that has been gathered within my municipality to make women participate more in Nabil city strategies.
changement climatique.
And all of these strategies are also linked to climate change. Right now, we are implementing a project related to waste management in Nabil, which allow for creation of jobs for women and which will ensure their active participation on to the implementation of the SDGs.
Great, thank you so much. Note in here that in your city, there's already a process of involvement of women during the decision-making process, in the planning, incorporation, women solution in the long-term climate strategy for the cities. And you mentioned also about the waste management project with active participation from women during the planning, and of course emphasize the importance of finance to promote this. Thank you, Mayor. So now going to Ms. Fatima to Abdul Malik. Mayor, I will ask slightly similar question. As you were the first woman mayor to serve in Mauritania, which is really a very great accomplishment by itself. Can you share us one of your greatest accomplishment related to climate change in your city and some of the challenges you have faced as a woman mayor in this context of climate issues, to tackle climate issues? Should I repeat the question? Okay.
C'est bon, c'est bon.
Okay.
Merci.
It's okay, I understood everything. Thank you very much. Well, first of all, As you've said it, I was the first mayor elected in Mauritania in 2021, but in 2018, I was the first women president of a region in Mauritania. So you can imagine, so it was 2001, no, 2021 that I was elected. Now, before answering to your question, I would like to tell you two things. First of all, I know the women's situation in Africa, and I know the situation of my city, the background of my city. Now, regarding women, in terms of in demographic terms, women consist of 51% of our population. They are present. They are very qualified. They live longer than men, which allows for projects allowing the participation of women to last longer because women live longer. As I've said, many of these women are qualified. They are very active in social life of our country. They there is a real mobilization of women talents, but at the same time, many of them are illiterate. Very few of them are landowners in Africa. Very few of them are project managers. Because, well, of course, to benefit from bank loans, you need resources. So women empowerment is difficult at this level, and they have problems. Women cannot apply, cannot be candidates for election. And even so, at the rural level, it has been shown that the family's resilience is carried by the women, especially in sub-Saharan Africa. So women are very present, very active, but they are still victim of marginalization. I would have liked for more men to take part in this panel because we have to include cross-cutting gender issues in all programs, in all SDGs, because gender issues is not only the responsibility of women, but the responsibility of the whole of society. That was the first thing I wanted to say. Secondly, regarding my city, I would like to say that my city is located. Well, first of all, Mauritania is a very vast country with several million square kilometers. We are next to the Sahara and the Côte d'Ivoire. We have a desert, but we also border the sea. So it's a very nice picture, but which it makes us very vulnerable because we are a coastal city, just like the city of Nabil in Tunisia. And all along the coast, we are exposed to marine disasters. There is no vegetal cover. We have many flood exposed areas, so our city is very, very vulnerable. It is even categorized as one of the 5 most vulnerable cities. But in parallel, we have managed to implement a series of actions in terms of urban planning, first of all, because we have revised our regional urban planning plan in a participatory way, because we are used to go in on the field to collect people's thoughts. And then, of course, we collect data, and all of this is done scientifically, of course, in order to translate this into concrete action on the field. We have experience in climate change, in the fight against climate change, and we have established a climate plan specific to the city of Nouakchott that lists all the actions linked to access to sustainable energy. And we have also realized a sectorial plan insisting, for example, on lighting, which is one of the highest cause of greenhouse gas emissions. We defend the idea according to which adaptation in Africa is our priority. The adaptation to climate change is a territorial challenge, but it is also a a challenge for women. We have said it already. Women are very vulnerable in the face of major extreme weather events. As you know, they are at the forefront of the of several tasks. For example, girls and women have to collect water. Sometimes girls have to stop going to school because they have to walk kilometers to collect water for their families. This is a very exerting task. But in a way, it reflects also the responsibility of women who carry their families and carry their families' resilience. When it comes to energy, they are the one who make efforts to, collect food and everything. And despite all of that, they are still marginalized. They are not involved enough in different programs where they could play a decisive role, where they could have something to say. Because in the end, their contributions, their voice is not heard and it is not taken into account. When it comes to adaptation, we have also generated major successes for women. I don't know if that was the object of your question, but with the Sub-Saharan Covenant of Mayors, we have achieved successes. We have implemented an urban agriculture sector which majoritarily involves women, which will increase food security levels, but which will first and foremost allow for local vegetable markets to be refurbished. But of course, it doesn't mean that all is well. There's still a lot to do. Thank you.
So to respond your I actually discussed with one of my colleagues last night. He's a male colleague, and he said that there should be one representative from male in this panel. Yeah, we noted on that. Yeah, you mentioned about the challenge that women face, especially in your region. So you have been appointed to several leadership roles outside your role as the president of Nouakchott region, including also the COM Sub-Saharan Africa Regional Mayors Forum, as you mentioned, and then also the president of UCLG Africa. So can you elaborate what role can this type of initiative help those women in your region, to be more heard? Because you say that the voice of those women are not heard. So hopefully that this type of initiative can bring their voice to the regional and to the global level.
Yes, thanks God we can be organized in structured networks so that we can make women's voices heard and interests heard as well. Because once again, when we help women, we help society. We help society in terms of equity and in terms of rights. So, in the framework of the African Regions Forum, in what I've said about the Gender Commission, all of those are very important frameworks in which women evolve. They need to be supported so that they can be model women that can be followed by others, but they also need to be involved. They need to be aware of their role in development in a general manner, but also in the well being of the society. So they need to be committed, involved. You need to make that your main um, concern. You also need to have the specific skills. Unfortunately, women don't all have that, but you need to be supported. You need help to be able to access all of this. Other people do that as well, but it's not enough. We need more partners. We need, and it's really a call that I'm making to everyone here. Please help women, support women, because that means that you support society, everyone's well being. So it's not just all about women, it's about society as a whole. Thank you.
It's assignment for us, see, to bring up capacity of the women. So now I would like to go to Ms. Farah Baboon. As a former mayor who had experience with support on obstacles in delivering agenda on climate change, what are the challenges in your Palestine context specific?
Thank you very much. Do you hear?
Yes.
Thank you very much. It's indeed an honor to be part of the session. As the mayor of the city of Bethlehem within the Palestinian context, undoubtedly when we talk about Palestine, Palestine has a unique circumstances that relates mainly to its socio-political status, as well as in this crisis of climate change. I would like to concentrate on at least 3 points when it comes to the challenges that we as mayors encounter in Palestine. The first one, we have limited natural resources when it comes to land and to water. The second, which is unique, exclusively unique in Palestine, which is the fragmented environmental governance. I will repeat, fragmented environmental governance, which means that we mayors oversee services in areas that, as per the Oslo Agreement, is classified as Area C. And Area C, though we have to have our infrastructure, facilities for all types of services, including waste management, water, electricities. These facilities are usually to be built in Area C, which is under the administration or security of the Israelis. And Area C, usually it's more than 65%. That means we as mayors, we as municipalities, whenever we conduct any kind of service in these areas, the decision or the governance is not exclusively us. And that is a creditable challenge. No one can deny that Palestine is part and parcel of the Mediterranean status vis-à-vis climate change, where we are talking about the decrease of the rainfall, increase of temperature, dramatic changes in weather that affects agriculture, that affects dramatically also our projects vis-à-vis climate change. Undoubtedly, women in Palestine, as the rest of the Arab world, they do suffer from the cultural perspective, cultural discrimination, and as we know, equality is not there on the table, if not in the Middle East, but actually the rest of the world. The second, women in Palestine suffer from the occupational discourse. So she has to encounter two challenges. Today, Palestinian women encountered a third challenge. She encounters the climate change because women are the most vulnerable towards climate change. And if talking about the Palestinian context, 11% of our households in Palestine are headed by women. That means her role is productive, reproductive, and managerial. And due to different factors, Many women in Palestine work in agriculture. So if talking about all these factors, we find that one of the most critical challenges that we encounter in Palestine, that women are really vulnerable towards climate change. And the question is, did we succeed as mayors, or did we succeed at the national level to bring women to the decision-making process vis-à-vis climate change? Second question, are women in Palestine have, or do they have an active role in addressing the process? Unfortunately, 30% as a quota is the quota for women to participate in local governance and even the legislative councils. Only 30%. However, when it comes to knowledge, when it comes to information, you can see that a big number of women are either far from the knowledge that pertains to climate change, and here where I address the knowledge structure, which is very important. The second, information is not provided, or women are highly burdened to an extent that they stand the ramifications of the weather crisis, yet they do not really understand its significance on them as women who are leading houses, and they are leading even work in farms, in agriculture. And mind you, in Palestine, our political status, where many men either are detained or dead, they find themselves heads of the households, responsible for the hygiene, responsible for the water thing. But I think up till this moment, the mere challenge that we in Palestine encounter, as I said before, more than one aspect. The most important, that we do not control areas that women live there, and they need our services adequately. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mayor, for the powerful presentation and elaboration. So, taking forward from your answer, in current situation in Palestine, how you seen if there's already improvement that you seen at the local level in Palestine, and then maybe you could share us your experience when you were the mayor there. What are the policies or initiatives that you have introduced to further promote involvement of women, especially to help them to tackle in climate change?
Personally, I believe there is no climate justice if no gender equality exists. And the same, vice versa. At the national level, the Palestinian government, including almost 12 ministries, we defined and prepared and introduced our Palestinian National Adaptation Plan. And in the National Adaptation Plan, we designed our national, what is called? You know, what are the procedures to be taken to encounter climate change? And there
Framework,
were
policy framework.
priorities.
Yes, priorities.
Definitely, priorities tackle water, waste, energy, food security. Because today in Palestine, adaptation is a priority. And we succeeded to move from the short term to the long term, which is adaptation. in the adaptation plan, there was a very important question. Gender cannot remain as a separate and limited dimension. One of the most important things was to mainstream gender and to mainstream environment in all these sectors. So when we tackle energy, when we tackle education, health, when we tackle agriculture, there is a mainstreaming or gender mainstreaming. Yet, and this is an issue that I would like to raise not only at the level of the Palestinian context, but at all levels.
Yeah.
It's true that we mainstream. We mainstream. But up till now, we are raising the question of gender vulnerability when it comes to the decision-making process, her actual participation in finding the solutions. And so, do we really work as per the mainstreaming points? This is a very important thing. So as for us as a mayor, and following, or the previous mayor of the city of Bethlehem from 2012 to 2017, and which I followed the process with the UN Women in Palestine and the region. Since our agenda and strategy is adaptation, and you raised the issue, the first concern was water. In Palestine in general, and in Bethlehem in specific, municipalities take the water, buy the water taken from their own aquifers from the Israeli administration. So it's our water, and yet we buy it. The international, distribution for water at least is 100 liters per day for one person. We in Bethlehem, for example, cannot afford except for 70 liters per day. And that's why we needed to think out of the box and address this issue of the water crisis in Bethlehem. We're witnessing now shortage of water. We do not control our resources of water. And now a third threat, which is the climate change. And we're going to witness additional shortage of water. In the year 2015, we decided to renew almost the majority of the water pipes in the area of our jurisdiction. Why? 40% lost in our pipes, and that is why we had to take internal measures in order to control the efficient distribution. So when a citizen in Bethlehem has the ability to receive water only 2 days after 15 days, and we have to put a program and the schedule of distribution, this is a high challenge for us. Women suffer dramatically from this. When water is not there, women, the leaders of the households, are there in a very vulnerable situation. That is a major issue for us in the water. Yeah. The second, today Bethlehem is turned into, and thank you for the EU, we've used LED lighting for the streets, changed almost everything in order to have sustainable energy. I'm sorry it took me long.
Thank you, Mayor. So maybe the next project that can be supported by the EU will be on the water project in Bethlehem. Yeah, it's really sad to hear that I hope that the government could include that in their mitigation and adaptation plan. So linking to that, we are now going to Dr. Laila Iskandar, because you are working with the grassroots communities with informal urban settlement. So you might have similar experience with Ms. Vera. So in your experience, what role that you've seen vulnerable women can actually play in climate change? So in what way that their actions can reduce to the global warming or to reduce the GHG emissions?
Okay. So I have been working for the last 40 years with women who recycle municipal waste. It's a very gendered sector. The men go out and collect it from our homes, restaurants, hotels, workshops, wherever, and they bring it to the neighborhoods, the informal settlements where they live, and that's where women's work begins. Imagine this. 60% of Cairo's waste, as an example, that's about 15,000 tons every day, go through the hands of women. Because it is the women who sort what the men have brought from our homes. 4 women sort so that they can recycle 1 ton of waste. So if you have 15,000 tons every day and 4 women per ton, you have 60,000 women sorting the materials of a city of 20 million people, a mega city in Africa, which if they did not do, would not provide feedstock for the formal industry, would not provide employment for a huge value chain of SMEs, and would have us, the residents of the formal part of the city, submit to cholera. So this is what our women in Cairo are doing. Our national action adaptation plans do not include these women. They're not on the radar screen. Because they are informal, because their work is hidden, it's not been documented and quantified, although there are NGOs, like my friend sitting here from Cairo in the front row, have been for years trying to document and to upgrade the health aspect of sorting mixed waste. So in '92, they tested in some neighborhoods how to source segregate into 2 streams, organic, non-organic, and it worked. Up to 70%. It was not translated to policy. When I became Minister of Environment, again, I tried it. It worked, but it didn't last very long. These measures take time. And often politicians do not recognize the length of time you need to do that in a city. Now, what is the significance of this for Africa? Now we're trying to talk about African solutions to our climate problems. Very few people know that plastic alone, never mind aluminum and the energy it takes and glass production and cloth and paper and cardboard, I'm going to focus just on plastic. Last year, the production of plastic in the world was equivalent to 189 coal plants. That was calculated by the United Nations by taking the numbers of how the material moved from the time you extract it from the oil field or gas, to the time you move it to produce it, to the time you distribute it as a product, to the time you package it, to the time you send it to the consumer, then the consumer tosses it in the trash, and the trash comes back to our women. Our women who save the planet from this use of fossil fuels. So up till now, this has not been quantified or recognized enough that when we talk about waste, it's about fossil fuels. Of course, we need to reduce our consumption and find alternative materials, grant you. But up till now, what these women and other women in all of the emerging markets do, we have a network of 300 cities in the south, has not been recognized for what it does for the climate. Now in Africa, the data in the UN document says only 11% of municipal waste is recycled. And that is done by the informal sector. So all of our city systems for waste have failed us. If this was a school principal where only 11% of his students passed the exam, he would be sacked.
Yeah.
So we have still not come to the point where we say there's something seriously wrong with our cities and how we manage our materials. We call them materials. And there's something seriously wrong with our understanding of who does what. Let's recognize them. They're there. They've been doing it for donkey's years. In Cairo, they've been doing it for 70 years. They, their mothers, their grandmothers, and we want to see an end to it because we don't think it's a very clever idea to have 4 women for every ton squat on the ground and spend 4 hours out of every day of their lives, 365 days a year, to sort my trash, which is mixed, organic with non-organic.
Wow. I'm actually currently doing postgraduate studies that is focusing on plastic waste, so I might learn from you. So in that context, how can we further leverage our support and then recognize their contribution in this context? I mean, we need to do something for them, right? Because they are obviously contributing to city of Cairo. But at the same time, you also need to support them to become climate resilient. How do you think that we can do more on this?
If you will allow me, I'd like to turn that question on its head. It's not us doing for them. Remember, if they didn't do what they are currently doing for us, we would die of cholera. So it's very simple. They're doing for us right now, okay? We're alive today in our mega cities because of what they are doing for us. We need to start stating that fact that way. We are not here to help them. Gosh, they are keeping us alive, you know? So given that they are keeping us alive, how can we improve our ways and habits of managing our waste so that they continue to keep us alive? Not just alive, keep the planet alive, because they are recovering 80% of the materials that they collect. Now, if you look at Europe, the best cities in the world, say in Spain, for instance, they have one of the highest recycling rates. It never goes beyond 30 to 60%. My gosh, now these are poor, vulnerable, they need our help, we need to make them resilient. Gosh, they are making the city of Cairo resilient. You know, I mean, it's turning the whole argument on its head. We need to work with them so that they can continue to do for us what they have been doing for 70 years. Not just in Cairo, in all of the cities of the South. So when national adaptation plans say, okay, we need to improve waste management for our mega cities, or cities, and the Mediterranean is one of the most polluted waterways in the world. Let's improve our waste management systems. It never includes looking at what these people are currently doing to reduce what leaks into the environment. It's always about let's set up a facility, let's buy more trucks, let's do some capacity building for such and such, let's enact laws, let's do some EPR, all sorts of, Eurocentric ideas that have nothing to do what these people are doing to keep us alive. All right? So we have to stop planning that way and understand waste management in the South is not the North. We cannot burn it. Incineration is not recycling into energy. It is ending the life of material so that we have to go back into the earth and extract some more. So please don't sell us your incinerators. Landfill mining is not there because we have useless materials in our dumps. And for years, we have been importing the wrong technology. Why don't we just stop planning that way and change the way our policies are enacted?
Thank you, Mayor. Very inspiring. So maybe something that we could do to help them promoting more on responsible consumption and sustainable production, or maybe also a policy on segregation at source. So that could help the women there do the work on their recycling one. And lastly, as former minister in Egypt, what is your expectation from COP27 happening now here in Egypt to support the integration of women roles in climate change?
Okay, so if we add what we heard from Nouakchott and Mauritania and Bethlehem and Cairo and Tunis. Our women are everywhere in agriculture, in fisheries, in waste, in water, front lines. I would hope and expect out of this COP that we stop talking about gender mainstreaming. It kills me. That we stop talking about what can we do for women. It's about, you know what? Women are doing some very serious work, not some good work, not very serious work that's keeping us alive. How can we change the narrative, change our policies, and change our national adaptation plans, which currently do not reflect that significance, that seriousness, that leading role? It's always about an add-on, all right? And let's stop talking about climate change. It's about climate justice. Justice for the people who have to buy their own water, justice for the people who have to sort our trash manually every day of their lives, and justice for people who have to go out and catch a few fish to feed a few mouths because the trawlers have taken it or the oil fields have destroyed their beaches.
Wow. So, climate justice, we need to change the narrative, of course, to recognize these women, to improve our policies. Thank you very much. So, before we go to the Q&A session, so we have heard here speakers from Africa, from Asia, from Mauritania, and then also we have a representative from the Europe. We have here at the audience, Ms. Julia Soder. This is the Executive Director of Long Duration Energy Storage Council from the US region, who have been working in a sector, energy sector, well, majority are male. So we want to hear, do you think a woman need to follow male values-based leadership model to become a respected leader? What can we do to support female leadership model where empathy and compassion will not be seen as weakness?
Hello, everyone. It's an honor to be here with such an esteemed panel, and want to say thank you so much.
You can stand.
Okay. As we've heard today, women are doing amazing work around the world, firsthand fighting climate change, being in the front lines of resiliency, already doing amazing hard work, making a difference. And I think what we're really also amplifying here is that women are fighting climate change, and we can do this in partnership with men, working together. And the more that we share each other's stories and talk about the differences we make, we're building community. We're building data and facts and information to change the policies and fight climate change. And I think what's also inspiring is that we're all here today to work in collaboration, to work together to fight climate change, to show that empathy is a powerful tool, to show that data access and information is part of a just and equitable transition, fighting for climate justice. You're telling the stories that connect all of us. And it's also really empowering that young children, men and women, kids, boys and girls, see all of us in leadership positions so they know they can do it and they can work together to fight climate change. So I'm truly inspired today by all of you and look forward to working with you as we help each other build stronger communities of women and men fighting climate change together, because without women, we don't have a solution. With women and men together, we have a powerful way that we can fight climate change. So thank you all so much and look forward to working with you.
Thank you. So I would like to link that with the young generation, the future leaders, regardless it's women or males. So back to the panel session here. In one sentence, I would like to hear from each of the speaker here. We could start from Mayor of Nouakchott region. What advice that you will give to other female leaders or women young generation, be it's mayor or someone at the national level, or just young female out there who are concerned about climate change and they want to do something about it? So what advice that you will give them? In one sentence.
Écoutez, madame, nous, en Afrique, nous sommes.
Well, listen, in Africa, we are aware of one thing, that positive change and sustainable change will come from women and young people. This is our idea in Africa. So we to accompany them, to help them, support them, train them, strengthen the capacities for women and young people so that they have the necessary means to fulfill these missions and to play their role that is essential. It needs to be reminded we are talking about half of the world, and the second half has an education role, so it has an impact on the whole society. So we need to act everywhere for the well-being of the society, for development, but for that there needs to be really awareness raising. So women's fight, it's not for power, it's for change. Thank you very much.
Oh,
King, you
yes,
hear me?
it works now.
For young women who are resiliently caring about climate change, even if you are unheard, you are not voiceless. Use your work, use your voice to position yourself on the decision-making process through your commitment, through your activities, but mostly through your resilient leadership. One hand can never clap, and the world needs your hand to hear that clap. Young women, be there.
Very good. Yeah, you go first.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you. So I would ask mayors and people at different policy levels to include women and young people at the table. Bring them there, because currently they're not. And as long as they're absent, then we're really not going to have the right solutions or know exactly how to go about changing our lifestyle and doing the right thing. If you are a university graduate, start doing some research on real people, not labs. If you are a woman recycler living in a slum, keep recycling. You're doing wonderful work. And just as you have made some money from recycling and put it into building solid homes made of brick and concrete for your children, keep on investing in the largest housing stock in your country from the recycling you've been doing. You've educated your kids from this terrible work. Keep on doing it, because your kids are now educated and they will be sitting at the table telling people about what you're doing and how things should be done, whether it's waste, water, agriculture, or whatever.
Thank you.
En fait, on voit donc.
Well, we can see the important role of women in society when it comes to making decisions. Women have a very important role in families as well. So we really call on all women and young girls to be involved in this kind of change work to resist to climate change. And then in the future, we call on them to be at the center of power, at the center of decisions. So really, women are strong. They are very resilient. We can see that in all circumstances. So we have talked about the pandemic, for example. Women were very, very involved. Women were strong. They went down in the streets. They fought. They tried to protect their families. And for women leaders, they really tried to protect the citizens. So in the end, I just want to say that women are amazing and work a lot, and so they can also encourage young girls and women to work together for the well-being of the country. Thank you very much.
Alors moi, ce que je dirais, c'est
Personally, what I would say is that if you have a dream, just go for it. You will face obstacles, but if you believe in what you're doing, you will succeed, and this is how you will change the world. And what I've heard today has really touched me because I've seen people who believe in what they're doing, who are acting on a daily basis. And if all women start to act together, we will have a stronger and bigger impact.
Thank you so much. I actually asked an additional 10 minutes from the organizer because we have so much active discussion. So we have 5 minutes left. If there's any questions from the audience here you would like to ask to our mayors? Okay, yes, please.
Bonjour. Merci pour les exposés très détaillés qui sont.
Thank you for the very detailed presentations that are very important. I mostly want to call on to involve women in decision making processes, but mostly at the local level. Because women are closer to the communities, they know about how vulnerable women can be, they have a listening capacity that men don't have. They can empathize to other people's problems. So they are very well positioned to manage municipalities, to be closer to their populations. Women have more resources than natural resources. And natural resources are being degraded at the moment. It's an issue for women.
Génératrices de revenus qui dépendent
There are activities at the regional level that depend on agriculture mostly.
d'agriculture,
And women's income depend on these activities, and we've seen that climate change has a huge impact on these activities. So I think that women are very well positioned to
la gestion.
to work in local authorities and local management. Thank you very much.
Than a question, and thank you. We really appreciate that. Oh, okay.
Things are falling apart. Thank you so much. This has been very inspirational for me. I'm Karine Bouma. I work at ICLI Africa. My question to the panel, and just related to the informal settlements, you zoomed a lot into the work women are doing in vulnerable communities like informal settlements, and you iterated a lot of value they are contributing to the community in addressing climate change. My question is, what does climate justice look like? You mentioned rightfully that we should really focus on climate justice, especially the situation in Africa where we are facing the most impact. We are most vulnerable to these impacts, and it's even worse in informal settlements. What does climate justice look like for these informal settlements, for these women who have been working for generations in these informal settlements? Like, what can be done differently to make their lives really better than they really are, so that they are not only doing what they've been doing for ages, but their lives are better, and the vulnerabilities they are currently facing is different. I mean, we don't want to reach 2030 before we come back to pick these vulnerable communities to meet us in adapting to climate change and all that. So what does climate justice mean for them? Thank you.
Thank you. So I will let all the panels to answer in one short sentence because of the time limitation. So what does climate justice looks like for women in informal settlement? But I would maybe further that to general women.
Rapidement, rapidement. Vous savez, dans mon pays, le secteur informel
Well, in my country, the informal sector hosts around 70% of women. They can only work in the informal sector. And you know what it means in terms of precarity for incomes. Unfortunately, what women do is not valorized. It's not valued, and it's not taken into account in economic information. And we need to work on that in our countries. We need to work on these issues to really value the informal work of women. Thank you.
We're talking about effects and impacts. And unfortunately, up till this moment, climate impact and effects is on the most vulnerable. And that is why, as said it, without gender equality, we will never witness climate justice. So that is why, if you want to witness that justice, women should be there from A to Z. They live the problem, and that's why they have to be part and parcel not only of the solution, of the ultimate solution. And as long as women are not there, this is a question we need to ask. Why up till this moment? We need, yes, policies, we need decisions, but we need applications to this as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Lane.
In response to your question, my perception of a climate-just neighborhood, especially informal settlements, you're right, is one where we start out with decent work and livelihoods. It's all about how I make money and how I work so that I'm not shortchanged of my labor, that it's counted and paid for, and that it's not hazardous for me. Then that will lead for me to be engaged in building my own house. Women in Africa build their own houses. But I have to be involved in how I want to build. Usually it's incremental, not the government coming in and putting a stack of buildings somewhere. And where I want to build, don't throw me out of my city 60 kilometers so I can't come back and work. And then after decent livelihoods, decent work, and my own perception of building my neighborhood, a structure that allows me to make decisions and network with other like-minded. There is an international movement called Slum Dwellers International that's trying to address these things for urban justice for all.
Thank you.
Dans mon intervention, j'ai...
So in my intervention, I will answer part of your question regarding initiatives that and in terms of policies for women and girls who are not empowered yet. And we have to take into account that they are very active in social life. So they are a key actor when it comes to participatory approach for the elaboration of annual projects for municipality investments. They need to be better trained and involved to the risks of climate change and involved in the solutions to fight climate change. They need to be supported to be part of the system and the process of climate justice. Thank you.
Okay, for me, it's important that women are involved in the full consultation process. Their specificity should be heard and should be included in the various policy, strategy, and communal strategies.
Thank you. Thank you very much, everyone. We have exceeded the time the organizer has given us a sign. So I would like to conclude this session. First of all, I make a few key points: climate justice, equal access and opportunity to resource and education for women, involvement of women at the decision-making process, starting from the planning at the beginning, recognize value and contributions of women's participation in tackling climate issues, bring women roles to the regional and global level, and then ultimately, women, we need to keep doing what we are doing good at. Believe on what we are doing because we are amazing. Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you very much for the great, inspiring speakers here.